I mentioned earlier when you were playing Grace, you wanted them to really, it was pretty awesome, Emmy-winning superstar. You wanted them to lean into the Jewishness of the character in the way that I wish we were doing so much more today. But I sort of want your take. That was 25 years ago.
Yep.
Where have we come with Jewish representation, where you have Grace, her Jewishness is just part of her. It's not the butt of the joke. It's not why she's doing anything. It's just sort of baked into this three-dimensional human, and it's contemporary. And that's the sort of humanizing, great characters we need. Where have we come in 25 years?
Thank you for saying that, because that was the intention, because representation is everything.
Oh, yeah.
We have a long way to go. There's this book, Dana Horn.
People of Dead Jews?
Yes.
Talk about Dara Horn?
Yes, yep. Dara Horn.
Yeah.
I think when we nowadays we see incredible stories told, but it's always about the death of Jews, and it's time for us to see films and television that show the light and the music and the joy of being Jewish and what makes us special. And it's interesting because, in Hollywood the last few years, there's been so much discussion about representation from other marginalized groups. The Academy has infinity groups that have been created. So there's an infinity group for Black people and for Latino people. And we said, hey, we are a minority, and we think our representation needs to get a little bit more support here. And we said, we want that. And they said no, which is obviously disappointing, but I think it just reflects the complexity of how we are perceived, because we have succeeded in science, in literature, we are perceived as being, you're doing fine. And it's very hard to convince people that the representation of Jews is not full, and that the obligation, if we are going to take accountability in Hollywood and say, no, we have to make more stories about these marginalized groups. It's been very white, it's been very male. Let's do it. Let's do it, and let's encourage and have incentives when casting. And to say, I did a movie called Alto Nights with Robert De Niro, and I played a Jewish mafia wife. And I was so thrilled to play a Jewish woman. And when I was told, an offer is out, and we're waiting to see if she's going to take it or not, and she passed. And I said, who was it? And they said, Michelle Pfeiffer. And I literally laughed so hard I fell off the couch. And so many times Italian women and men are cast in Jewish roles. So I like time immemorial, we have to speak for ourselves, we have to advocate for ourselves, we have to demand that people see us as whole people and not apologize. not
Damn right.
apologize for who we are.
Absolutely. Obviously the silence from Hollywood on the Jewish issues and everything pre-October 7th as well as post has been shameful and disappointing. Have there been, specific individuals that, and you don't have to name them, but just people you really thought would show up but didn't? And have there been people who you thought would show up and didn't, and you were able to speak to them and they said, my bad, I should have showed up?
The very first thing that we did as an advocacy group was write a letter to President Biden. And it read, please, President Biden, do everything you can to bring home all of the hostages from 33 countries. Do everything you can to do that. And we sent it out to Hollywood to sign, and they wouldn't sign it. And Israel wasn't even in the letter. And that's when I realized, oh, this is nuclear for them. I did try and reach out to two of the most famous pro-Hamas, anti-Israel celebrities when the ceasefire happened. And I reached out and I said, I am so relieved that there is a ceasefire, and I know it's something that's been very important to you for 2 years. It would really be very potent if you made a statement and said, I am so relieved today that finally there is a ceasefire and there is hope for peace, because that is something that we all can get behind, and that perhaps could be the first step toward healing.
Hey, come on now.
And obviously, no. They said no.
What about some of your fellow Jews who you would have expected to say something and haven't? And I put that caveat in because I think there's an unfair expectation from the community at large that every person who was born Jewish should be speaking, when many of them were never engaged Jews to begin with, don't really identify strongly, and of course in this moment they're not going to say anything. They never have, they never would. But that's not all of them. There are some Jews who are engaged, do care, and still haven't said anything, and are not maybe one of these people that you've already mentioned, who I've seen as well behind the scenes working on all this Jewish storytelling. Have you spoken to or tried to speak to any folks like that? Are there people? Yeah.
I haven't. I think people have made it a binary choice, and people have established their position very clearly. There are obviously many Jewish celebrities that I expected to come. I mean, I literally said to the group, I was like, I think everyone's in shock. Everyone's scared to speak. I think in 5 months, all of Jewish Hollywood is going to finally come out and say, this is wrong. It shouldn't matter whether or not we're practicing Jews or not. It's a matter of human rights and human dignity and Western values, and that should have nothing to do with it. To see people killed and attacked on the streets solely because they're Jewish should be condemned by every single person in the West. Period. And, people are concerned about their careers, understandably. People are like, oh, they're not going to watch my movies. They're not going. Look, I can't tell you how many times there have been comments, I'm never going to watch another TV show or movie that you're in. So it's a very real concern. But I still feel like this has been such an existential moment for us that you have to step up and speak. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if you have a big platform. It doesn't matter if you feel like you can't be articulate. None of that matters. Everybody has to do what they can do, but they cannot stay silent.